Hello and welcome to this episode of FinTech Focus TV, brought to you by Harrington Starr, global leaders in financial technology recruitment. Head over to the Harrington Starr website today, where you'll be able to download our brand new documentary, The Era of Convergence, which charts the merger of traditional and decentralized finance. You'll also be able to see our new magazine, The Financial Technologies, with the top 1% Workplace Awards. Enjoy the show and we'll see you soon. Hello and welcome to our episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby and Matt. We are here at Old Billingsgate for the FIX Trading Conference 2023, and I'm delighted to bring a very good friend of the show, Matthew Cheung from ipushpull, back onto screen. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, thanks for having me, Toby.
Well, I think you're probably one of our most filmed guests of all time, and every time we do it, I always have great fun with it. And every time we do it, something else is happening with the business, and you're going on to bigger, brighter, and greater things in many of your guises and businesses you get involved in. But ipushpull is a fascinating company. You've gone through on an amazing journey, and we're going to dig into all of that and find out what's happening in 23 for you and everything in between. So, but before we get into the meat of it all, Matthew, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about ipushpull.
Yeah, sure. So I'm CEO and I'm co-founder of ipushpull. So we're a real-time data sharing and workflow automation platform. So we help provide our services to people across the financial markets. So it's anything from venues and exchanges, brokers, buy side, sell side, anyone who wants to be able to use us to get their data and distribute that out, or kind of increase the accessibility of that data out to lots of clients who are living in lots of different types of applications. And it's not kind of one-way distribution, it's two-way as well. So then we can build workflows where if I'm sending out a price to my client might want to do something with that. And that kind of ping-pong backwards and forwards, we can digitize, we can streamline all of that. So we've been going for about 8 years now, and we've got a very exciting 2023 ahead of us. We've got a number of interesting projects and partners, and we'll be looking to start kind of aggressively hiring from kind of middle of the year and onwards. Yeah. So it's an exciting time at the moment for ipushpull.
Definitely sounds it, and I know that you guys, as I said, every time we speak to you guys, there's something cool going on, and the business has been, it's not your first rodeo of the whole founding team, is it? You guys have had some success in the past.
Yep.
And it's been on that sort of, I think, responsible growth pattern over the last 8 years, and it's kept a very good. You're in a space which I think is one of the really interesting areas of the marketplace. It's needs innovation and evolution in it, and it seems to be the right sort of time for that sort of thing to be happening at the moment. You mentioned it and highlighted it there about growth and building the team up and going through all of those sort of things. And 2023 being a big year, I think every time we've been over since we've been speaking over the last few years, there's been a number of hurdles to jump over. Yeah. And every time there's sort of more economic pressure that happens on any part of the world, that seems to be when you get a bit between the teeth and start to grow the business. Tell us about what's with a backdrop that can be quite oppressive in 2023. Tell us how you guys are bucking the trend and what it's all about.
I suppose there's probably two parts to that. One as a company, in terms of over the last 20 years, 10 years, there's been a lot of money going into fintechs and startups and so on because of interest rates are so low. As interest rates have gone up, the perspective on how investors look at companies has changed. Yeah. So investors are now looking for companies that are profitable, that are responsible, that have governance. And that's something actually we did from day one. And our growth has been steady, but it's been fairly organic because we haven't taken any funding for quite a long time. Which is
quite extraordinary for over that sort of period in that sort of space.
Yeah,
really
and it's kind of gone full circle now, where actually investors are looking for companies and are looking to kind of work with companies like ourselves, which is great. The other part of that is in terms of the climate that's kind of out there and different things that have happened. So one of the things that we've been working with for a long time, so we're about data and making data easy to share. We invested a lot as a company into working with chat platforms and chatbots And actually now you've seen like ChatGPT has actually put the spotlight on chat and chat as an interface. So we've been doing this for a number of years now.
Ahead of the game again.
Yeah, and we've got some very cutting edge technology to allow you to interact with data or counterparts, whatever it might be, through chatbots that could sit in Microsoft Teams or Slack or Symphony or integrated with Bloomberg later this year as well. And then you can take those chat messages, map and transform them into a FIX message or at the FIX conference. So we can do things where you're mapping FIX to chat. So a human can just be typing into the chat. We can map and transform that into a FIX message. And then there's already a technology stack that's dealing with FIX kind of workflows, and we can just kind of plug straight into that. So we've been doing that for, like I said, a number of years. But what's really helped recently, a couple of years ago, obviously we had COVID, everyone's working from home, everyone starts using Zoom and Microsoft Teams and all these things. And what we're finding now is people that have been using chat for a long time are starting to use it for more than just video calls or chat. They're like, oh, how can I use this to automate workflow? How can I use this to connect to my data? So we get a lot of clients and interest around that as a factor. But I mean, I just mentioned like ChatGPT. That again is a good example of where chat can get to.
Yeah.
So we're starting to work with technologies like that already, where we can provide a different interface onto what's already there with this kind of chatbot frame that we have and the data connectivity as well. But I think it's always about timing when you're doing anything, right? When you're running your company or my company or anything at all, it's about being at the right time at the right place. And you kind of get those tailwinds to really take you through. And I think 2023 has probably got various things kind of aligned to help us on that journey at scale.
You're right in terms of uptake of that sort of thing and chat coming through. And I wonder actually about, as you were talking through that, the thing in my head was just how long it's taken for the financial services industry to adopt cloud.
Yes.
Let alone something as revolutionary or as it can do with chat and such like. So you look at disruptive technology and you see other industries absolutely embrace it and run with it really quickly. And you see the financial industry who've got so much to gain through technological innovation, it sometimes needs a massive shove to get to that sort of phase. How are you managing to convince people? And I imagine it probably does need a little bit of convincing, despite the fact that there's, from everything I've ever seen in your business, it becomes a bit of a no-brainer in the industry to be dealing with it. But what sort of objections are you coming in? How do you get over those objections to say this is where the future is for you and how we can help you get to that?
Well, I think similarly, probably 7 years ago or 8 years ago when we started the business, we were out convincing and educating people about the cloud. Whereas that never comes up anymore. It just doesn't even come up. Whereas now you get to something like chat. But again, I think you've had something to give some momentum. Like COVID was one thing, with digitization, digital transformation. But then I think now again with people now looking at, okay, what's AI and tools like that going to do in this industry? Again, it's another reason for them to invest and look at things properly. If you take like crypto and blockchain, that's had quite a few false starts. And if you take AI's been around since just after World War II. It's not suddenly come out of nowhere. It's been around for a really long time.
Absolutely.
But all of these technologies are all exponential technologies. So it doubles every time. And when something's exponential, when it starts, you don't notice a doubling between 1 and 2 and 2 and 4 and 4 and 8. When you get to 1 million and 2 million and 5 million, 10 million and 100 billion, then you start to see this kind of exponential curve of growth. And you've seen that already with cloud. It's slowing down a little bit now because people realise it's expensive. Because AWS and Azure are making lots of money out of it. But on AI, that's kind of that tipping point. The tipping point is right now when we're going to go like that. But an inflection point, the convergence, like you said, right?
We've been there on that, Jan. And I think that sort of piece about the tip, because as with various hype circles of crypto, coming back to convergence, you've seen false dawns and false starts with it all. And I think we're probably all in the situation and the mindset where you think it's inevitable that the chat AI is the future of technology, particularly in the financial services space. But do you think there'll be false dawns? Do you think there'll be platforms on that sort of growth, or do you generally think it'll be exponential once people are there with it?
I think it will be. I think that, like you say, the financial sector is always going to be slightly behind because you're hamstrung because of regulation and personally identifiable information and things like that.
Yeah,
so there's various things that needs to be done in a very enterprise kind of way.
Yeah.
But then if you take someone like Microsoft, who's embraced AI and what $10 billion into OpenAI, they're going to be a bit of a launchpad for big enterprises to get into it. But going back to your questions about kind of banks and financial sector can be a bit slow. Us as a company, we focus very much on selling into other fintechs, data vendors, exchanges, venues, companies that are a bit more technology focused. Because banks are technology focused, but they're so big and slow, it takes a very long time to get stuff done.
Procurement is always a problem.
There's procurement, there's onboarding. I mean, there was a stream this morning talking about onboarding and how to get faster. But when we're selling into another kind of tech-focused company, and you're selling into like a product manager or a business manager who's got a techie mindset, that type of that type of persona who we're selling to, things can move very, very quickly because you got the right person, they got the right job role, they got the right remit, and the company they work for is not going to be bogged down in lots of red tape. So we've signed some things up as quick as like a month in big financial services companies, but they've got that persona and mindset. Whereas in banks, it's very difficult because no one person has enough decision-making power to do that and make it that
There's
quick.
multiple sponsors, they always say.
Exactly.
So if you've got multiple sponsors and the right sort of product, and you make it as easy as possible for people to buy from you, that's always been the case. I think people always try and sit there and blame the institution, as opposed to saying, right, we know what we're dealing with. Actually, I think there's some interesting companies there who are helping with that process right now. But I think the companies that do that the best are the ones who recognise the issue, recognise the problem, and then provide something that's compelling enough to have multiple sponsors in there that say, this is a no-brainer, this is how we need to get this forced out. And the more you've got with that, the more chance you've got of getting it across. One of the things I've always loved about talking about to you is your pontificating about the world that we live in and where we're at and some of the priorities. So we're in a volatile world at the best at the moment. We've got this sort of juxtaposition where large swathes of the economy, despite all of that, are overperforming, overextending. I was talking to someone yesterday about their view in that the UK is actually pretty well situated to thrive at the moment in terms of where the market is and all that sort of thing. I always like talking to you about your view of it all. You're very worldly whenever we chat. Give us a lowdown about where you think the economy is going in 23 and what opportunities that creates for everyone in this space.
It's a big question.
I know. And I sprung it on you as well, no prep.
I think for the first time in a very long time, monetary policy and interest rates is a thing. For a long time, you had free money where interest rates were next to zero, which has allowed this proliferation of investment startups and people to try big, bold ideas because money's cheap. So that's one factor that's going to change people's appetite for risk, definitely. But that's not going to stop all the entrepreneurs that still want to do all this cool stuff. So I think it's really important that, you've got a Conservative government, which is a bit wobbly at the moment. It's definitely 50-50 if they're going to be sticking around or not. But nonetheless, they need to be able to make the best of UK entrepreneurship, technology and the city, because they're the things that we do really, really well globally, and our banking system is second to none. It's when you go to America, you're still like using checks and you do your signature, right? I mean, that's crazy. And then you go to China and you just scan your face, and you can really kind of see the difference. Whereas I think the UK is probably somewhere in the middle. It's kind of, there's areas where it's super advanced, and as long as the government can help keep that kind of melting pot of ideas and money and people there, even the immigration kind of policy is beginning to change a little bit. Where I think people appreciate now that we need more kind of workers coming in. So I think there's a few different things where this country can still do really well, and fintech is one of them globally, and financial services is the other. So I would think for 2023 and beyond, as long as the government can see that, and they say all the right things, and they seem to be doing the right things as well, then I think we're kind of set. The other bit that I'll just add is on education, because
this is a big passion of yours as well.
Exactly.
FinTech,
So I run a mentoring project called Work in FinTech, and that is very much about educating young people about FinTech and financial education and how to get into the city, and providing opportunities for people from diverse backgrounds, not just kind of white males that there's a lot of around here, is actually having people from different genders, races, classes, kind of every which way, but expanding that out. But then that's necessary to have that breadth of open-mindedness and thought and so on. But it's all about education. So I think the key thing that companies...
That's a long-term investment. Right?
That's a long-term investment the government really doesn't make. And it's down to people and companies and people personally to be passionate about it. And if anyone listening to this is passionate about helping young people, then give me a shout.
You do some amazing work in that sort of stuff. I think what you're doing and how you're creating that future is 100% what we need to do, because we can moan all we like about the lack of accessibility and the lack of talent. But you can't change it by just bringing people in who've never done the job. It's about investing in the future. And I think the government has been really lax on that, even down to just pure academic timetables that they put people on and where they're positioning people. But it's interesting about everything you say there, because I don't know if you're there for the opening keynote this morning. Andrew Griffiths, the MP, the city minister. And again, you said it says all the things you want to hear for people who are in this space. And if that can be backed up, I'm so optimistic about the future of this industry and this city, for where it can go and what we can do. And I'm really encouraged and enthused about the way the year started, against the trend, I think it's fair to say as well. So long may it continue.
Well, just one thing to add. I mean, I was talking about kind of government and monetary policy and things like that. On a broader sense, I'm very, very optimistic about everything. Right? There's a real abundant future that's ahead of us with the likes of seeing how technology, everyone's played around with ChatGPT. It's brilliant, right? Everyone should embrace that, and everyone should be using these technologies to make yourself more productive, to cover and do more things. And the things that you do, you focus more on is higher value. It's just these technologies are there. It's going to help everyone in this sector and in any part of the world to do things better and quicker and faster.
And that's the whole point of it, right? It's not about disintermediating anyone. No. It's not machines over people.
No.
It's how man and machine can work together to create much better things, futures from it. Matthew, I can speak for hours about all of this, as always, with us, and we're doing a bite-sized one today as opposed to the full classic. We'll chat about it again in the future, but let's finish on ipushpull. It's an exciting year over the course of it. You'll be growing through the back end of the year. Who should be reaching out to you? Who should be talking to you? And what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, sure. You can reach out to me. It's Matthew Cheung at ipushpull. Contact me on LinkedIn, or you can email me or get in touch with Toby. This year, like we said, is going to be a year for growth. We're looking for front-end developers, back-end developers, technical salespeople, and a whole host of other kind of roles we're looking to fill. So, do get in touch.
I can vouch for the fact it's an absolutely brilliant company doing some amazing things, and I'm really excited about what you're going to do with it. So Matthew,
thank you.
Lovely having you on again, and I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I have. We will see you soon on another episode of FinTech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.